This one thing that I'm about to share with you ended my fear of my anxiety being exposed, and I know it can end this fear for you too. So if you're struggling with this, stick with me, because in this video, I'm gonna help you understand why that fear has been built up so much to the point that it's now a paranoia, why your current strategy of trying to hide the fear is making it worse, and how to actually release this fear so you no longer have to walk around on edge that at any moment your anxiety could be exposed. So let's drop into this, and if you're a part of this community, welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Rubin, I'm a transformational coach, and I specialize in social anxiety, self-esteem, and self-expression. And this is a tough one, right? Because when you experience anxiety in front of people, so you're in front of people, that extreme nervousness starts to come up, you start to feel trapped in your head, you start to experience physical symptoms, but you're experiencing them right in the middle of trying to interact with people. It makes you so vulnerable, right? And it's so painful because people see you in such a vulnerable place. Life, you can compartmentalize it in a way where you, in your most vulnerable moments, those moments when you want to let out a good cry, for example, you don't have to do that in front of people. You could do that in private. But this is different, this social anxiety. It makes it so you don't have a choice. Your anxiety could come out at any moment, and everybody is going to witness you in that anxiety in all of its rawness in real time. It cracks you wide open in front of people. And when that happens repeatedly, it's hard to see yourself as equal to other people when you're in such a vulnerable spot. It positions you as this socially inferior individual. How do you feel normal? How do you feel like you're equal to everybody else? So what do? You adapt, right? And in order to not feel inferior, to not feel like you're weak and that you're not like other people and you're not normal, what you will do to stay away from the reactions of other people and that ultimately that public humiliation is you will start trying to manage this anxiety and keep it down below the surface to prevent it from coming up and giving you those symptoms in front of people and keep it kind of a secret. But now here's the thing. Now we got a whole other set of problems on our hands. And here's what I want you to understand. It's not the anxiety itself that makes you vulnerable. It's not the anxiety itself that makes you feel inferior. And this is going to sound counterintuitive, but I want you to understand this. What makes you truly vulnerable is you feel like you're not normal or like there's something wrong with you because you have the anxiety. And I want you to start parsing this out and separating the two. And I want to give you a few examples here to kind of separate the two. So let's say, for example, you have a performance thing at work and you get really high intense levels of anxiety. It's really hard to perform that task. Well, remember this saying, the more hysterical, the more historical. So the levels of anxiety that will flare up during that performance has to do with your past experiences of performing. Did you have good experiences? Did you have horrific experiences? Another example is, let's say when you're communicating with authority figures at work, for example. What is your history with authority figures? Did you have critical parents growing up? Did you have horrible experiences with teachers growing up? Well, that history is going to dictate the levels of anxiety that you experience in the present moment with authority figures. Another example, let's say it has to do with competence. You're doing a job and you're performing that task and you're getting extremely nervous and you're feeling just an insurmountable amount of pressure. Well, that has to do with historically, were you given the space to cultivate your craft? Or, for example, on the opposite end, where you expect it to just be perfect and never make mistakes. And I wanted to just quickly give you those examples because I don't want to minimize that the anxiety is intense. It's there 100%. You are experiencing it, but remember, the more hysterical, the more historical. There's reasons why you have those levels of anxiety because you haven't had the healing around them that you need. Now, this other side though, remember the shame. You have this other feeling like there's something wrong with you because you're experiencing this anxiety on the inside and you feel the need to keep it a secret. This is more so about the fear of being found out. Like somebody's gonna catch on to your dirty little secret over here. And then what's gonna happen, okay? So this is a little bit different over here. I want you to catch on to that. So there's the anxiety. The anxiety can flare up, okay? This is more so, you have no control of it. It can flare up at any moment. It's so uncomfortable. This is more so about the fear of fear itself. This over here is more so about the fear of other people's judgments, other people's reactions when this does flare up. And when they have the reactions, they have their judgments, they have their criticisms, right? They have their smart remarks, for example. What are you going to feel on the inside? You're going to feel like, oh, there's that feeling again. Like I'm less than, I'm weak, I'm inferior. Okay, so over here, what you are at risk for ultimately is shame. And shame intensifies and exacerbates anxiety 1,000-fold. And if this is something that's connecting the dots for you, I just want you to know, I go much deeper into this in my free masterclass. I'll point you to it at the end of the video, but let's keep going here because there's a much deeper piece that amplifies the shame itself. And so where does shame come from? Where were the seeds planted within you, with the seeds of shame? So it comes from a lack of emotional connection and emotional support growing up, and then being blamed and faulted for things that weren't actually your fault. Now, just a heads up, as an adult, what you will tend to do is perpetuate your own shame. So for example, you'll deal with people in ways, or maybe you reach for addictions and vices that you're not proud of. That is a way where you're walking in alignment with your shame, but you have to know that the seed was planted much earlier on in your life. And I want to share this story with you because part of the healing process of shame is to be able to share the shame outward with somebody else, and not just anybody else, a safe person who can resonate with what you're sharing, not resist it, not try to push it away, not to ban it back into your shadows back over here and judge you and criticize you for it, but to be able to hold it with you and hold some space for the shame to be fully processed through. Because when that other person does that with you, suddenly you're not so alone and broken, are you? I remember a point in my life, in my early 30s, where my life was completely crippled with social anxiety and shame. And my life was stuck at a complete standstill. And I was feeling so inferior, so broken, like there was something going on with me, something wrong with me. Like I wasn't meant to have a good life, nor was I deserving of a good life, because I was watching all of my friends' lives progress. They were getting married, they were progressing forward in their careers, they were just having fun and going on trips and just enjoying themselves. And I wasn't doing any of that. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me because I felt like I was working just as hard and I was just as much on the grind as everybody else. Why aren't things progressing for me? And I remember I texted a friend of mine and I was like, man, can we have some breakfast? Like, what are you doing on Saturday? Let's get together, man. I got some stuff on my chest that I'm just dealing with. Is it cool if we just talk some things out? And he's like, yeah, for sure. Let's meet up on Saturday. And so we meet up on Saturday, and this friend of mine, he's planning his wedding. So talk about life moving forward. He's talking about his wedding. He's talking about all the stress, all of the things he has to do every week and how he just wants to get it over with. And it's my friend, right? I've known him for over a decade. I know he struggles with some stuff. And At that point, none of our friendships were below the surface. They were all superficial. And so I had to ask. I was like, in my mind, I couldn't take it anymore. Like, I was wondering, are we ever going to talk about life? Because I knew this friend in particular, he really struggled with issues with his father. His father walked out on him when he was young. And so I asked him in that moment, I said, man, I get it. It's all stressful. I said, but do you, like, as you're planning all this stuff, are any of these issues coming up around dad? Like, are they coming up for you in this moment? Because I was feeling it. Growing up with this raging and abusive dad, no emotional connection. And, when it came for me to start settling down with my girlfriend, I was like, hell no. I do not want to do to my kids what my parents did to me. So I started to ask him, are you scared? Are you feeling anything? Aren't you afraid of getting married or anything like that? Are you feeling these things with your dad? And he says, no, I don't feel shit. And I said, really? Like, you don't feel anything? And he goes, no, I don't feel shit. I bury that shit. And he says, you should bury that shit too. Huge moment. Such an impactful moment right there. So much to unpack. And I want to unpack this with you, okay? Because what happened in that moment? I'm asking a question, right? I'm asking a question. I'm trying to say basically that I'm not moving forward. I'm feeling all of these things. Everyone else is moving forward. And basically what I'm asking is there something wrong with me? That question in and of itself is me sharing my shame. And as humans, there's no way for us, we're wired like this. We cannot sit with another human and have them feeling something and us not feel what they feel. We are wired for empathy. But that doesn't mean that the person you're going to share it with is going to stay in empathy. Empathy is simply what? Shared resonance. So I'm feeling shame. What that's going to do is bring up shame within my friend. Now, depending on his relationship with his own shame is going to dictate his actions or the way he holds mine. So for example, in this case, what did he do? His actions were to tell me to bury it so that he could rebury his own. So it didn't end up being a safe place. And so remember that question I was asking as an attempt to share my shame. I was asking like, aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid? Like, is there something wrong with me? And the response was basically, yes, there is something wrong with you. Bury those feelings and move on with your life. Don't be so weak. So I got confirmation, essentially, the very thing that I didn't want to admit to myself. It was confirmed. And what's confirmed there is, remember what I said, is the seed is planted much earlier on in life. And yes, there is something wrong with me. You are weak. That's the same message I got growing up. You're weak. Everything that happens in your life is your fault. You're alone. Go deal with your shit. Go fix your shit yourself. Which is, and I just want you to hear me when I say this. It's not true, okay? You're not completely alone. Everything that happens to you in your life is not your fault. That is a complete lie. It's complete falsehood. Because I realized I was just sharing with the wrong person, and that really hurt to have to come to that realization, because it's like my homeboy. It's like your closest homeboy. It's like you realize in that moment that you're gonna have to leave somebody behind, right? And it's not that you're just leaving them behind, but you're leaving behind this old way of relating to them, and it's time for you to expand. Because I remember when I found the right mentors, more compassionate mentors who had a relationship to their own shame, and when I shared those things outward, they held it with me. They had complete resonance with me, right? I would share things. Well, I feel broken. I have this issues with my dad. I feel ugly on the inside. I feel broken on the inside. Oh, they just held it with me. Okay? They didn't try to stuff it back down into me. They didn't try to reassure me it's going to be okay just to get me away and out of my feelings because there's too much feelings in the air. None of that. They just sat with me. And when they sat with me in it, not trying to resist it, not trying to change it, not trying to minimize it, not trying to trivialize it, the shame stays in the light. It stays in the light. And then I have another compassionate mentor who shines his light on it. And when he shines his light on it, the shame starts to process and heal, and it starts to lose its power over me. What in particular? The voice, the feeling like there's something wrong with me. And that's the truth. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that shame has tied itself to these different anxieties and making you believe that there is. So if you're ready to stop feeling so anxious, but more importantly, stop feeling like there's something wrong with you because you're anxious and actually feel at ease in yourself, then make sure you take that masterclass. So the link is gonna be up here or below the video. Don't let that voice in your head try to convince you that you are the only one. You're absolutely not. So take that masterclass. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.